Welcome to Mama Drama Trauma Academy. Empaths with a mother wound empaths coming through. One thing's for certain, two things for sure. One thing's for certain, two things for sure. One thing's for certain, two things for sure. I'm blessed, been blessed, gon' always be blessed. I'm blessed, been blessed, gon' always be blessed. Cause I'm a divine child, a great mother, Father God, never just condemned or left alone. Cause I'm a divine child, a great mother, Father God, never just condemned or left alone. One thing's for certain, two things for sure. One thing's for certain. That is the mantra at Mama Drama Trauma Academy. Great Mother gave us as mother wound empaths to know that the mother of all mothers cares for, protects, provides, and is with and within us in all ways, all the time. Today we start a new series, moving from the Mama Drama Trauma Healing Oracle deck signs and symbols of the moon chakras, goddesses, and angels, guides, and ancestors into everything empath. Empaths with the mother wound have a double whammy because of the hypersensitivity, high sensitivity continuum that we have to dance, that we have to commingle with our emotional state at all times. So moving forward, we're going to look at this commingling dance, and we're going to examine how this continuum can be managed, what its elements are, how it affects us, and particularly how we can empower ourselves through it. Today, we're focusing on hypersensitivity versus high sensitivity in mother wound empaths, the hang-ups and the natural highs.
It's a beautiful world we live in. There is no crime and no poverty. But if I look outside my window each day, that is not what I see. That is not what I see. 1, 2, 3, tell me what you see. 1, 2, 3, tell them what we really see.
There are 3 disclaimers. Number 1, use self-awareness when determining how, when, and with whom you apply this information. It is your responsibility to use it according to what you know is true for you and about you. 2, if you are in any form of mental or emotional therapy or in a doctor's care, though imparted tips, tools, and techniques are proven as effective supplements to formal care, what is offered here is not intended to replace it. If you are at any time triggered, pause the session and resume once you've regulated. And 3, while Mama Drama Trauma Academy specifically speaks to empaths with the mother wound, absolute accuracy is not guaranteed, nor are results of healing sessions, information, communication, video content, consultations, and sessions with me, Tammy Taylor, or anything on the mamadramatrauma.info website. All content is created for educational, spiritual, and entertainment purposes only. Welcome to Mama Drama Trauma Academy. I'm Tammy Taylor, your manifestation muse, musing you to live your divinity identity. That's what we're here for. That is our jam. That is what it is all about. Embracing the fact, the reality, the truth. We are all together now, dearly loved, divine children of the great Mother, Father, God, who are never judged, condemned, or left alone. Now, we know there are consequences, right? And we're delving into specifically the lives of empaths, specifically mother wound empaths, of course, and the consequences of not knowing that we are dearly loved. That's why Great Mother gave us that mantra. There are consequences for not knowing that. And there are consequences of, therefore, not living according to that. You know, we've covered a lot of academics around this internal space. So if you are new here, welcome. We've covered a lot of land. We've covered a lot of space, a lot of ground. And so, speaking of all of those are variations of Great Mother energy, right? Space, the energy, the prana, the chi. We talked about that last week in Who Great Mother Is. That was a summary of a 6-part series you have to listen to understand some of the things we're going into today, because foundational understanding is what it's all about. But as always, you can listen to what you need to in the library, as well as subscribe for what is coming to build on what we're talking about today. So, moving forward, the reading today asks the question, what does Great Mother want us to know about managing hypersensitivity? What does Great Mother want us to know about managing our hypersensitivity? Now, we're going to define our terms first so that we understand the question. The title of today's session, Hypersensitivity versus High Sensitivity, builds on the work we've done about HSPs, Dr. Elon Aaron's work with highly sensitive people. The understanding we have is that this 20% of the population of highly sensitive people have a greater ability to sense subtleties in the environment. Of that 20%, 5 to 10% of us are empaths. Those of us who, according to Dr. Judith Orloff, do not have the ability, the capacity to block or filter stimulation in our environment. 80% of the population have this ability. Empaths have an extremely reactive neurological system. We don't have the same filters that other people have to block out stimulation. So when we are incubated, we are inside of a womb that is wounded from her own emotional traumas. We absorb it more than our siblings, which is why they experience our mother differently and don't understand what the heck we're talking about. Okay, they're not empaths. Empaths are old souls who have developed this level of sensitivity over many lifetimes. You know, life teaches us. And one of the main things that we're learning as emotional beings as we incarnate in the human form is how to manage and ultimately master those emotions. MDT lifetimes are lifetimes where we are intensely in that school, intensely in that realm of soul development. So as we develop our self-awareness, self-reflective abilities, we begin our journey back home to the quantum field, the conscious quantum field. The quantum field always exists. The entangled universe where the unified field exists always exists, whether we're aware of it or not. It's just that as we mature as souls, lifetime through lifetime, the samsara, the returning through life. Why are we returning? We have attachments and we have desires in this realm. We have experiences we have not yet experienced, and we want to do as divine children. That's the whole purpose. That's why we're here. There are no mistakes. Our actions throughout these lifetimes create our experiences going forward. That's why MDT Academy is so important for those of us who are ready, able, and willing to consciously embrace our divinity. It takes a long time for a soul to get to a place where it ultimately is ready to acknowledge the existence of the non-material reality as its reality above form. It takes a long time. It's a filing down of attachments to the physical realm. We've had lifetimes where we've learned that disease does not kill us, does not kill our soul. We've learned that famine does not kill our soul. We've learned that brutal, physically abusive relationships do not kill our soul. We've had so many lifetimes where we just know within ourselves from our experiences that we survive. So we're using resources today from Dr. Judith Orloff, the Empath Survival Guide, Life Strategies for Sensitive People. We're talking about Elder Malidoma Patrice Some's work with trauma. We're referencing Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey, as well as Tracy Marks, our YouTube phenomenon with the psychological wellness work. We're delving in, and we're looking particularly at how Great Mother set up the Mama Drama Trauma Healing Oracle deck in its 6 suits, spelling the acronym ASPIRE, for our aspiration to live in loving detachment from the mama, drama, and the trauma. To live in loving detachment from the shame, blame, and guilt that it cultivates in order to embrace our divinity identity. You see, this is a simultaneous process. This process is going on simultaneously. And this takes us to our topic today. There's a yin and a yang in everything. And the yin and the yang that we have to deal with when we embark on this healing path is the dance between our hypersensitivity, that trauma, be it complex, episodic, chronic, happening over and over again, or an event trauma. Something happened once that was tremendously traumatic, that had such a repercussion, such an emotional repercussion effect for us that it caused trauma. Trauma, according to Dr. The first really trauma doctor I ever listened to and studied was Dr. Paul Levine. His definition of trauma is soul dissociation. It is when the soul actually begins a dissociation process from the ego. This is a natural process. We've talked about the creation, preservation, and destruction process of all life, and particularly our internal Shakti life, that prana, that chi that we connect with that others do not. That's that hypersensitivity, that DOES acronym that Dr. Elaine Aron talks about with highly sensitive people. If we recall, when we're talking about highly sensitive people, and always remember when we're speaking of HSPs, we are that on steroids. We are highly sensitive people on steroids. But when we talk about what we represent, what that is about, what it means, she breaks it down into the acronym DOES. And I love that because that is an action-oriented word, isn't it? What we do. And what an empath does is broken down into the D, O, E, and the S of it. D standing for depth of processing, depth of perception. We have an ability to perceive and to process subtleties, okay? And that is why we have a low stimulation threshold. Even the smallest things stimulate us. The O is for, as a result, the overstimulation, that sensory stimulation to large groups, light, sound, smells, aversion to conflict. All of these things that, okay, we're going into the hypersensitivity of it a little bit because, again, for empaths, this definition is on steroids. This is what describes a highly sensitive person, that 20%. We are a subgroup of that puts all of this on 10. Okay? The E stands for, O is overstimulation. D is depth of processing. The E stands for emotional reactivity. That empathy that we have, that reaction that we have to the environment as a result of the D and the O. So that causes us to require extra time alone. And the S stands for sensing the subtle. That sensitive susceptibility that we were talking about in Who Great Mother Is. That sensitive susceptibility. We're susceptible to sensitive situations and sensitive people, and the absorption that we're always referred to having. That sponge is that sensitive susceptibility that others simply do not have. And the hypersensitivity that we have as a result of the trauma that we experience, it feels like to us. It may not feel like that. And my siblings, it doesn't feel like trauma at all. And my mother didn't behave very much differently toward me than she did to them, but it feels that way, okay? It feels that way, and that is because all of this is on 10 in relationship to what a mother does. And we talk about those 3 P's. The mother provides, the provision of care, right? The protection, and maternal presence. I wasn't aware of this, and none of us are aware of all of these things. I'm sharing my own healing process personally and professionally with others as a inner work life coach specializing in MDT. My job is just to help people become MDT aware, because I wasn't. My healing process is 20 years. And my intent is to help specifically support others to not so much reduce the time, because that's unique to each of us, but to be able to manage triggers better, recover from them better, have a greater understanding of Great Mother's love and presence and protection and provision of care, the mother of all mothers. When there is an event that occurs, usually with us, it is the abandonment of a mother at a young age, or even older in life, for whatever reason, the mother, because of her own health issues, because there's something she has to do with a relationship that she's involved in, usually as well, or some addiction, okay? There's an abandonment. And we know that we're strong. Intuitively, we know that we're old souls and that there's something different about us. And so we don't really identify it and recognize it and call it for what it is. Something as small, and these are called these microaggressions throughout the day that just wear you down, that become these stressors in our lives. We learn to absorb, and we absorb and we absorb and we absorb them until we're thrown off kilter. And Dr. Maladoma's work, particularly in the Healing Wisdom of Africa and Ritual, he talks about what trauma is signaling in our lives spiritually. And this whole concept of shame, blame, and guilt around the maternal relationship that is not validated as not fulfilling our needs, or we're seeing and we feel that we are ungrateful as a result, or we don't deserve love because we're not appreciating love, and all these things that we've learned through lifetimes that are now forcing us to look at, because of the pain of MDT, It's about being aware. The pain is signaling a lack of self-awareness. It's not a judgment or condemnation. It's a consequence of a lack of awareness of our divinity identity. We've had all these experiences, but we're not embracing it. And so the hypersensitivity is a result of, for example, something as small as a light bulb. Speaking of sensitivity, light bulbs and light. Sensitivity to that can be very overwhelming for us. And we can do, for example, something to establish a boundary about our needs by simply requesting, hey, can we just get 60 watt lights or 50 watt lights? The 70, 100 watt lights I can't do, and these, LED lights that are really bright. I need ambient light, please, and in some spaces I might just need a 20 watt light. I need lighter lights. So if you're going to get light bulbs or whatever, just remember, just get the low watts for me. Just as an example, when we ask for things like that, they don't get fulfilled. People always forget, we ask to have, some me time or whatever, and it's like barging in the room, just forget. And it's almost like if we don't say anything, it's better because we don't have to deal with the conflict. We'll just do it ourselves. And that's where the isolation comes in. Notice there's a difference between isolation and taking me time for ourselves. The hypersensitivity is a reaction to the trauma. Okay, eventually over time, this becomes so stressful, there is a soul dissociation. And this happens naturally in our lives as we begin the body release process, the disincarnation process. That's natural. But what happens with us, with trauma-induced sensitivity, the soul starts to do it as we disassociate from ourselves. Because we, for whatever reason, do not take on the responsibility of our needs, whatever that looks like. For some of us, in the light bulb example, it might be as simple as, okay, well, whenever we need to change a light bulb, I'll just take on that responsibility. And what happens is for every area of our lives, we do that. Whereas other people, can ask for things and it seems simple enough, to get it. It seems that way to us because it's so overwhelming to take care of every single one of our needs, because our needs, quote unquote, are special. People feel like they have to walk on eggshells around us and whatnot because we need quiet, because we need this. And others, it might just be that we do need to be in our own space. And we have to gather our focus and our internal resources towards that end, which means that we cannot focus our energies any longer on our trauma reactive behaviors, taking care of others who are not validating us, but because we're more sensitive, we think others' needs are greater than ours. And that's kind of an egotistical approach to things. And what happens with that approach is eventually it becomes narcissistic, because we begin to demand that others reciprocate the attention that we've given them. For example, the light just went out and we are in the middle of doing something that we really love, that we really enjoy. And somebody's going to the store and we say, hey, could you just pick up a light bulb? I need the low, wattage or whatever. And they come back, of course, with the 100 watt. And it's triggering. It's triggering. And we might take it back or however it's resolved. Regardless, we've been triggered. And it seems small to people. But that's what I mean by the focus and the energy has to shift from what others are responding to or reacting to based on our needs to just getting our needs fulfilled. Because until we heal ourselves, like RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else? It's the same thing with our needs. If we can't heal ourselves, if we can't focus enough on healing ourselves, forget other people. When the light bulb goes out, we're in the middle of something, we have to make a decision to take care of ourselves in that moment. Does that mean I'm going to continue what this is I'm doing and just wait and go get it when I can? Because sometimes there's a delay with us because we got to get ourselves together to go out into that crowd. Yes, we have to do all of that to heal ourselves. And this is where the being conscious of our divinity comes in. Some people may call it magical thinking, the mantra that Great Mother gave us. Some people may call working with the Mama Drama Trauma Healing Oracle deck magical thinking. And, I don't have a problem with that at all. You know why? Because it is. It is. It is completely magical. It is completely magical. It's magic. The way it works when we work it. And that's what the daily practice is about and what we are here to learn, how to apply living and loving detachment to our lives. That's the healing. That is the no longer being triggered by mama, the drama, or the trauma. That is no longer self-judging and self-condemning through shame, blame, and guilt, breaking that cycle. It's magic. Magical thinking is defined as the belief that one's ideas, thoughts, actions, words, or the use of symbols. The method, Mama Drama Trauma Healing Oracle deck, is made up of signs and symbols, can influence the course of events in the material world. Magical thinking presumes a causal link between one's interpersonal experience and the external physical world. People tend to make connections between mystical thinking and real-life events, even when it's not rational. Of course, some of this is animistic thinking with the belief that the supernatural is everywhere and has some power over what happens in people's lives. There is some comfort in thinking that someone or something is pulling all the cosmic strings. It gives us the permission to relax a little. It sure does. It sure does. It sure does. I embrace magical thinking. I embrace the magic that Great Mother has gifted us with, because the alternative to high sensitivity, my divine identification that allows me to employ this magic in my life to relax in order to be reflective in my healing process so that I can support the healing of others. If I can't relax enough to be reflective, what the heck am I going to contribute to somebody else other than regurgitated stuff I get from other people? Now, I get it, faking it until we make it, but empaths don't have that luxury of faking anything. We can't even fake how we feel in any convincing way. That's why those of us who do go into these spiritual bypass behaviors and this fantastical thinking about our mothers and who she could be, would be, should be, and everybody else can look and see the reality of the situation, but we're still in this fantasy land about stuff. That's why empaths get manipulated so easily. And I specifically call us unhealthy empaths until we are healthy. We have to make that distinction, because when we're unhealthy as unsouls, as old souls maturing from survival to subtle sensitivity, we're dealing with an introverted personality that is not so much an ascetic, trying to soul align with this divinity, but it's a survival mechanism. There's a difference. And we get away with a lot of this self-delusion because new souls don't recognize it. That's another session that you might want to check out, how to be in right relationship with new souls. We're not in right relationship with new souls. We keep comparing ourselves. We are not the same. We're not the same. We have more soul experience. And because of this, it's not to be confused with low self-esteem when we behave in the ways we behave. It is a fear of our power. We know that we have a power, but we don't want to admit we don't know how to use it. Because every time we try to use it, it causes problems. And there is some soul memory and bleed through when in fact we have misused it. We have misused it. That's why today people look at this stuff regardless of how you talk about it. And I talk about all of the high spiritual things all the time. But regardless of that, you still have people talk about that this is the dark arts because we done scared people so bad with the way that we manipulated these powers in the past. There was a time not too long ago, 2,500 years ago, when it was universally the norm for the shaman, the witch doctor, the village elder, the mother of the coven, to be the priest and the healer. That was the norm. That's how we lived before the shift into religion. Okay, and so that's great father expression of the law, the logos, the word, the material form of religion. Commodified ritual as opposed to individual ritual. Individual based on tribe, individual based on home, individual based on the person going through a rites of passage of internal transformative intent with a specific service to the community. The healing man, the sewing woman, the fisherman, the hunter, the warlord. These titles, the teacher of children, the teacher of animals, the farmer. These things were identified in us as we were born. This is common, just up until about 2,500 years ago, where when you reached a certain age, 7 years old, 13 years old, depending on the culture, there was a period anywhere between 3 months to 20 years based on who you were, based on your level of sensitivity to subtlety. You were broken off into groups and you were taken by the village elder, the shaman, the woman of the covens, the whatever, into a training. And we've lived through those lifetimes where we gained knowledge and used them as we were developing sensitivity in ways that were more materialistic than they were intended to heal us and heal others, and balancing our lives in human form with our divinity within, because all of us are dearly loved divine children of the great Mother, Father, God, who were never judged, condemned, or left alone. It's just that because we have free will, we don't have to align with that reality until we're ready, able, and willing. And mama drama trauma is just the thing that tends to do that, because it is a signal that it's time for us to come home. This is why the deck is based on the 39 scenes of The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's journey back home. It begins with her return. There are two returns in the film. The return to Mrs. Gulch's house when Toto has run up there yet again. And that's why Miss Gulch runs him off. Now, you don't see her in that scene, but you do see Dorothy picking up Toto into the safety of her arms to go home and shouting back at Miss Gulch, "You're just a mean woman. Toto didn't do anything." But that is a return to the trauma. That's a loop. Okay? Dorothy's an orphan, and Miss Gulch in the MDT Healing Oracle deck represents that absent mother, that abusive mother, that abandoning mother, that non-provision of love and care mother, okay? That's a return to that in the dark side of the moon. So when dark cards show up in the deck, this is not a dark practice. It is the literal symbolism of the dark side of the moon. You may know that Pink Floyd's song, Dark Side of the Moon, is synchronized with the first, I believe, this has to be the first, it doesn't do the whole movie, but you can find it on YouTube. I might link it in the resources below because I love watching it. But from the beginning of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon up until, I believe, she is, well, it's the black and white part of the film. Those of you who are familiar with The Wizard of Oz are going to know what I'm talking about, and it is the most famous film known in the world up until about 2010, I believe. Now, I'm not sure what the most famous known film in the world is. Everything has changed, but if you're familiar with The Wizard of Oz, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, you need to watch the film because the deck is based on that. Dorothy is the poster child of Mama Drama Trauma. Okay, Dorothy Lane is the poster child of Mama Drama Trauma. Great Mother gave me the symbolism. I am from Kansas. She gave me things I could relate to, just like she gives all of us things that we can relate to in the building of our treasure trove. And this is what I do in my coaching. I work with my dear friends in developing their treasure troves of signs and symbols all along the way of our sessions so that it relates to them and it gives meaning to them. And so as they realize things happening as they go forward and are expanding their depth of perception and depth of processing, these symbols start to pop up more clearly and they feel Great Mother's connection and communication with them. They feel the angels, guides, and ancestors connecting and communicating with them. So for me, although I do not make this prominent in the guidebook, when we're talking about hypersensitivity, Dorothy Gale, did I say Dorothy Lane before? It's Dorothy Gale. That gale of wind that came, that tornado, we can always remember it that way. That those black and white scenes at the beginning, at the end of the film are in the material world. They represent the black and white of the material world. The black and white of the moon in the deck represent the Great Mother and Great Father sides of life as well. Okay, the Great Father is the light, the sun, and the dark side of the moon is Great Mother. Giving us information coming through, you can see through your spread how many dark cards and how many light cards you have. You can see who's speaking to you with the most guidance and direction in that reading. Okay, you can balance kind of your yin yang, and you can go deeper into that based on the color and the chakra of the card and what chakra governs your moon sign. My moon sign is Taurus, ruled by Venus. Venus rules the heart chakra. So when I see green cards, I really know Great Mother speaking directly to issues affecting me. Okay, we all ask for messages that are directly affecting us. And that is indeed what we receive. But when we have cards outside of our chakra rulership, we're being asked to expand in other areas to help us gain clarity, balance, and confirmation. Black and white is contrast. Our hypersensitivity is based on the Saturn moon that is constricting our maternal experience, our experience of material, mother, provision of care, protection, and presence. That's the reality of the mother wound. It is a Saturn moon conjunction or aspect, some configuration of those planets in our birth chart. It is going to be constricted and it's going to be amplified by aspects of outer planets. So I have aspects of Neptune with my moon as well as Saturn, okay? And so depending on the outer planet, it's going to give you more intuitive abilities. North Node and South Node as well, Rahu and Ketu aspects will give you greater intuitive abilities as well, empathic abilities. This is the scientific part. To our high sensitivity, our high sensitivity is tapping into that divinity, because before I did that and was tapping into my natural highs, I was very addictive and reliant on things that made me feel good, informed materially as well, and I was really wanting to relax, and I couldn't be self-reflective without some external substance. I couldn't really feel at peace if I wasn't eating a lot, something made me nervous or triggered me or that sort of thing. And these things have been a struggle to manage. But when we are ready, able, and willing to entertain the fact that we are loved, we are not being judged. Although these feelings are extremely painful, the dissociation and that sort of thing. Dorothy, the rejection of Toto symbolizing our intuition. He guided her every step of the way. We were talking about our angels, guides, and ancestors. They come in all forms. He guided her every step of the way. That's why she couldn't let him go. And that's why Miss Gulch came to her house on the farm to take the dog away. And that is mama drama trauma. There are signs and symbols that Dorothy was an empath as well in that movie. Our mothers contrast our intuition. And this is part of our soul contract to evolve in self-love and spiritual independence. It is a divine assignment that she has to file down our resistance to embracing our divinity, because she will not in form, but on a soul level, the soul bond, our soul mate contract is for her to file it down. In other words, coerce us into self-love and spiritual independence, because she is not going to give us the love we need. It's not happening. Not in this lifetime. This is a different lifetime. This is a lifetime where our emotions are maladjusted. We entered her womb from a series of lifetimes of not embracing our divinity. We manipulated because we did not understand how to use our evolving sensitivity in healing ways due to our attachment to the material world. So we use them for money. We use them for love, not from love. We did all the things. Never judged or condemned, but judging and condemning ourselves. And so that's how we entered this world. And when we entered her womb and downloaded from her our moon in form, our first god, our first goddess in form, downloaded all of her unhealed maternal issues. It just intensified it. The only reason we're still here is because we are old souls. We have a lot of resources to draw from, and we do. It's just that we resent it because we don't understand what's happening, why it's happening, and what we're supposed to do about it, how we're supposed to heal it. It feels like a burden. It feels overwhelming until we realize all the help we have. All the help we have to see beyond the 1, 2, 3. See beyond what is before you and me in this world, seemingly. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody ever knows what's going to happen. We're not at that level. No one is at that level. All we can do is say that things happen in a cycle. There's nothing new under the sun, and we can wait and see. We can wait and see in worry and toxicity, or we can wait and see in divinity, knowing that we are cared for and taken care of. So what we have before us is Great Mother's response to what she wants us to know about how to manage our hypersensitivity. In our center position is Moses. It is a light card, and in this spread we have 3 light cards. So Great Mother is predominantly in this 9-card spread speaking to us. We asked for her specifically, and she's responding to us specifically. Although Great Mother, Father, God are one, just as we are one in form, human form. Hu in Sanskrit is spirit. Form is the beast, the human, physical, material part of us. As above, so below. We are gods and goddesses, children of the Great Mother, Father, God. Great Mother, Father, God are one. We have the light card, first quarter moon, Moses lived the law, as the center. The center card is what the soul wants to work on. So what the soul wants to work on in relationship to our hypersensitivity, Great Mother is saying, is to live the law. This card, speaking of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, is when the mayor of Munchkinland comes to Dorothy and thanks her for saving them from the wicked witch of the West. Okay, so this is all about the soul wanting us to realize Great Mother, Great Father specifically, recognizes us. This is a light card, and that is the mayor of the town. The decisions that we've made, first quarter moon, the challenges that we've had and how we've addressed them, the soul is wanting to work on accepting the recognition that Great Father's coming through and saying, you've been doing your work. You've been doing your work with this issue of hypersensitivity. You have been recognizing ways in which your hang-ups about mama drama trauma have not served you well, and your soul wants to work on you reflecting on the work you've already done. Well done. That is centrally in this 9-card spread what Great Father came through to say. And the card above, which is the second card we read in the spread of the 9-card spread, is Coventina. This is also a light card from Great Father. It is the waxing gibbous moon of purify, detox, and reset. He's saying that what's bringing up the need for you to recognize the work that you've done and reflect on it. Reward yourself with this reflection of all you've been doing, how much struggle you've had with the light bulbs. Reflect on that and how you have found a solution to these small things that no one else acknowledges. No one else recognizes the effort it takes for you to take time to yourself, to validate yourself, to do your daily practice that is giving you the strength that you need to develop your signs and symbols to hear from Great Mother. He wants us to recognize that because there is a purification in that you need at this time. We need to reset our minds, especially during these times, so that we can use the self-healing that we've done to cleanse and purify a lot of cobwebs. We got money on the table. Money, that material form of energy. Great Father saying, you got money on the table. You need to go ahead and recognize so that you can purify those cobwebs. Bring up that energy to clear out that toxicity that is within you around this issue of hypersensitivity. And the shadow position to the left of Coventina is integrity. Great Mother's coming through with her Gibbous Moon. I'm sorry, this is not Gibbous Moon. This card, I've been working on the Southern Hemisphere deck, and so they are the reverse. Integrity is the eye and aspire. So this is the download balsamic moon card of eternal grace and mercy. Great Mother's coming through, and she's saying in the shadow of this reflection and this cleansing and this clearing out of the cobwebs is eternal grace and mercy through the truth that you are telling yourself about your goodness, about your beauty, about your truth, about the integrity that's coming up for you from how you have been receiving Great Mother's love in your own unique ways in order to get through the day. That's in the shadows. Great Mother's coming through, and she's saying what's in the shadow is your truth. To the right of the center spread, on the upper right, is Baba Yaga. This new moon throat chakra card is wild woman energy. It's about what we want. And she's saying what you want right now, dear child, is to fully express yourself. You want to be and speak your truth. That's what you want. That's what you want. Moving to the left of integrity to the center side is resurrection, another major arcana card for the R in Aspire. Resurrection. This balsamic download from Great Mother is about the Christ consciousness, that unified field that is our core belief that we are alienated from through a cognitive dissonance. We relax into that unified field. That's where we find peace. That's what we know, is that we're all unified through the many lifetimes that we've experienced of miracles coming through, of magic, of learning, of knowing what source energy is about, that we've had to hide or that we have shame around or whatever, or that in this lifetime we don't know what to do with it or even are too afraid to claim it. Great Mother's coming through with the resurrection, saying that it's time to resurrect that Christ consciousness of all of us being one, of that inner knowing that you don't have to feign, but that you naturally feel, but you feign that you don't because it's too painful to embrace in the current abrasive environment. It's time to acknowledge that, because that is what's going to help you fulfill your desire to express yourself. You are an empath. You are an empath. In Dr. Orloff's book, what's coming to mind is a quote she had by an unknown author that says, if you feel as if you don't fit in, if you feel as if you don't fit into this world, it's because you're here to create a better one. If you feel that you don't fit into this world, it's because you're here to create a better one. We are not going to relate to newer souls. The best we can do is pull from our resources, from our own experiences that are very new soul experiences in stumbling around with this, that gives us compassion towards new souls who do not comprehend any of this. It is an ability that we need in order to be, do, and speak our truth. That's what Great Mother's coming through to say. In the position beneath the integrity card is the law card, the law of Divine Mother. All law cards are third quarter moon cards of release. MDT healing is grieving. We're grieving the mother we want in order to accept the one we have. And in the position of ego-soul alignment is happy, healthy, holy. So releasing any and everything that does not make us feel happy, healthy, and holy. It's underneath integrity. And so now that we know, our soul is wanting to live the law as above, so below. And what is above is an acknowledgement and a recognition of the internal work that we have been doing that has gone unvalidated, is now being recognized, and that is our integral source of reality that we can align with in order to know for sure what it is that does make us happy, healthy, and whole. We can trust that. Great Mother's saying that's where our ego soul is aligned. The soul is not slowly escaping the body because it is feeling a deadening body mind. It is fully embracing the body, expressing its auric field in that body, fully energizing it because it is recognizing its divinity. Underneath the center card is Mother Mary. This is waning gibbous energy of the inner eye. This lavender, this beautiful purple card of selflessness. This is giving from love, not for love. Why do we need to recognize the internal work that we're doing? So that we can pat ourselves on the back and not require others to do so. That narcissistic tendency that many of us have when we are full of frustration and aggravation for not being recognized, for not being appreciated for all the love that we give, or the intended love. Sometimes it's not experienced by others as love because we're demanding the appreciation and validation, which we will never get in an unhealthy state. We will, as we heal, because we'll be healing others. And that won't always be the case that we'll be recognized by others. And I know that to be true, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's all love. You're getting so much love and you're aware of so much support and you're experiencing so much maternal love. What else do you need? You know, it's like a baby crying after you fed it and put diapers on it and cleaned it up and took it out to the park and got an ice cream cone and the baby's still crying. What's wrong? Nothing at all. Not anymore. Not anymore. Not on this side of sensitivity. So this is the journey. This is the hero's journey, the heroine's journey. This is what Dorothy was on, the yellow brick road, that path of return to that other black and white scene when she's on the bed and just waking up from the dream, from the yellow brick road and recognizing everyone there who was on the yellow brick road with her. We'll get more into that. But now we are completing Great Mother's message for us today with the how we are to do this. The Yemiya card in the position right, lower to the center. First quarter moon energy, soul surrender. We are going to reflect in a soul surrendering way. We are going to have the intention of reflecting on all that we've done already to take care of ourselves, all that we have already done to love ourselves, to develop our own spiritual connection with Great Mother, Father God. We're just going to relax into that. And we're just going to allow ourselves to reflect on it. We're not going to make any list or do anything that is going to overwrought the intention. We're just going to let it come to us. Just going to let them come to us. we might get up and start cooking or go somewhere and driving, and then they'll just start coming to us. Things that we've done, how we've been considerate of ourselves, self-caring. And we're going to surrender and let the soul bring those reminders to us. It might go all the way back to when we were a little kid and we didn't interrupt or upset mama when she came home from work because she was tired. And so what we did is we went outside and we played in the back, and we did, made us some mud cakes or whatever. I know this sounds strange to anybody who's under 50, but that's the kind of stuff we used to do. We used to go outside and do stuff. And so let it come to you from the position of how to reflect. This is the daily practice. It's a very intuitive practice. And the final card is the outcome card of Durga. This is the gut chakra new moon card of boundaries. And we're talking about those boundaries and how difficult it can be for us to establish and maintain them. It's not hard for us to define them, right? We know what makes us feel, this kind of irky, yucky feeling energetically. It's getting over the shame, blame, and guilt around it. Remember, mama's job is to file us down. And so in that filing, she has us reject total, that intuition that something's off. And so we need to recognize that that's part of the dynamic of our soul development so that we can get the understanding we need about our powers of perception and processing. We need to appreciate that. No one else does, including mama. It would be nice. And sometimes that happens. But don't expect it, because your boundaries are all about developing in self-love and spiritual independence this lifetime. That's the MDT soul contract. And so that's the final card. That's what Great Mother wants us to know about our management of hypersensitivity, is we always need to recognize that first and foremost, the A that we get for effort and even attempting to do it is going to bring us a level of purification, integrity, that allows us to express ourselves in ways that empower us and others. That it's like a rebirth. It's like a resurrection, like Christ died and was reborn. We're always going to be in that cycle instead of the MDT loop of shame, blame, and guilt. We're going to be in a rebirth and a resurrection cycle of evolutionary growth through our divinity identity. That's the magic. That's the magic no one understands but us. That's the gift of MDT. Our ego-soul alignment is based on the law. Okay, this is also Great Father energy. I must express that the law cards, remember we talk about Great Father being the law, the logos, the word. That is also Great Father energy, but it's more when it comes through this let go, having to do about the energy that is required, the effort, again, that A for effort, that we have to do. We have to do the internal work, the daily practice of letting go, of grieving the mother we want in order to accept the one that we have. It's a daily practice because it's all about what are we going to focus on? Are we going to focus on the trauma, induced sensitivity? Because either way it goes, we're going to be sensitive. We're going to have sensitivity issues. And so we just have to decide, is it going to be about the trauma? Or is it going to be about the natural high of divinity? Where are we going with it? Okay? The message is realize that you're choosing between giving for love, because either way we have to give. Just like old people, at a certain age, you're only worth what you have to give. Okay? And that's where we are in our soul evolution. That's why people intuitively pick up on, regardless of how evolved they are, that that's what we're here for. And if we're not aware of it and how to do it and what it is that we have to give, they're going to take what they're going to take. They're going to take what they see they want. Oh, I'm going to take all of her sense of peace so that I can draw the energy that I need to do what I want to do. You know, taking all of our prana, taking all of our chi, taking all of our shakti that we very desperately need in order to function. Is really something that we have to pay attention to. Because when we're giving from love, that means that we have the capacity to do that. And we have the capacity to do that because we are in a soul surrendering state, that yemiya. We are making a decision to face the challenge. That's how we do it, in that position. To soul surrender, to allow our souls to come through, give us the information we need, trust it, just like we talked about in angel communication. We have to trust it. And if we are not comfortable trusting it, we have to trust ourselves enough to test it, to test the messages that we're receiving. And in so doing, we test our internal communication and we refine it so that we develop stronger signs and symbols for more accurate communication. Because what we're going to get into more in this series as we go into the outcome Great Mother is giving us here with boundaries. Boundaries are a two-way street. Of course, it's the moat around us. It's that wall structure around the monastery. But it's also not so much all the time what we keep out, but it's the distinction that we make, the determinations that we make, the definitions defining what we need and what we want to allow to come in. That sifting boundary, that filter. So we don't have that filter. And so we have to develop one that is not based on the ordinary dictates of the material world that others have. The reason we don't have a filter is because it needs to be unique to what our needs are in order to give from love. My needs in order to give from love is that, yes, just like everybody else, I need to feel loved and appreciated. I need to feel like what I'm doing and what I have to give is worth something. And if the material world, and with MDT, we can pretty much bet that in the beginning, when we are in an unhealthy state, is not going to validate it. We have a lot of unhealed energy that we're bringing into whatever we are expressing, and that is sensed by others. There's a higher threshold for us, if you haven't noticed. We're held to a higher standard because we are in a unified field where others sense that we are a higher energy, and they're not just going to accept anything from us. And that is not the point. Remember, the point is how we feel loved, how we feel non-judged, how we feel non-condemned. It is all about the standards that we have within ourselves. And that fear that we have of our greatness is really about that internal standard we feel that we can't fulfill because of that bleed through from other lifetimes. We are needing to let that go. That's why our mothers on a soul level is bringing us to a point of forcing us to develop a sense of self-love that we're not going to get anywhere else. We have to give it to ourselves at some point. Whether it's this lifetime or next lifetime, we're going to have to get to a point of self-appreciation enough to where we can get back on track. We can get on that bright, Technicolor yellow brick road and find our way home with the very same people we've had lifetimes with before, the lion, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow were Zeke, Huck, and Hickory, the farm hands, and the black and white on the farm, when Auntie M, the other mother, we have other mothers. All of us have other mothers that we tend to, by the way, in our unhealthy state. I did it too. Be jealous of. Oh my gosh, I was so jealous of people who had close relationship, loving relationship with their mothers, and this, that, and the other. Oh my gosh. Aunt M was her adoptive mother. But as so many other mothers do in our unhealthy state, they're very disappointing. Because it doesn't matter what mother, earth mother, birth mother, other mother, motherland, we run to a motherland, it's not going to satisfy us until we heal ourselves. That's the soul contract. We don't have any other way out. When your mother rejects you, when your mother abandons you, when your mother neglects you, that's it. That's game over. And for many people, that is literally the truth. That is literally the truth. But as Elder Melodoma says, it is just a signal that this old soul is maturing from survival to subtle sensitivity. What is a birth mother? What is an earth mother? What is a material mother? Provides for our survival until we can take care of ourselves. That's real. And so the heart below chakras are bound to that soul from inception on that level. The heart, therefore, has to be developed, nurtured, cultivated to an energetic level that is more powerful than the chakras below it in order to transcend it. So the low self-esteem that we have is not so much a reflection of the result, the outcome of the MDT. It's that internal space. We're interested in the metaphysical not because we're necessarily believers, but because it allows us access to the abstract world of questions that have no clear answers. We're looking for answers. Nobody has answers. We're looking for answers. What the heck is going on? Nobody knows what I'm talking about. And dare I, most of us even say a word, because I already know the normal stuff I say, please get a 60-watt light bulb. It's like, so how the heck am I going to talk about this? And so our imagination, our magical thinking is this vastly powerful mechanism that we have no idea consists of the guides, the angels, the ancestors that we need to get into this spiritual stratosphere that others will never know, but that we need in order to access the answers like Great Mother just gave us about how to handle this hypersensitivity. Who else is going to tell us that? Yeah, we can Google some stuff and it sounds nice and it stays in the mental plane, but until the heart chakra's developed enough to actually apply the information about cognitive dissonance and trauma blocking and trauma bonding and all of these terms that just, they're informative and we need to be informed. But at the end of the day, we need to have natural highs that we can tap into in order to address this source wound of high sensitivity. It's just an old soul that is tired and is ready to go home, but doesn't know who it is or how. He talks about how the ancient ancestral energy is in stasis. This divine energy that we all have, for us that have lived many, many lifetimes, it's in stasis and it's starting to come up. And so the alignment process, the ego soul alignment process, this grieving process of the mother we are wanting this material mother to perform in ways that, for A, she's not soul contracted to do, and B, she's not capable of doing in any material way that we would recognize in this lifetime. So this alignment is about tracing this ancestral energy, because we are incarnated through a maternal line of some maternal toxicity, because we are healers. And it's another opportunity to apply our gifts, talents, and abilities in ways that are healing. So we want to discover what the soul needs and how it can help us with what we want. And that's what the soul surrender is about. It's about allowing the soul to tell us what we need by paying attention and being reflective about what's coming up. And through that process, we learn what we need versus what we want. The spirit sees in us a call for something grand. Okay, Great Mother, Father, God, they're calling us to grandness. They don't see us as weak and unable. They see us as divine children. They're children. So the spirit is calling us to something grander than we can even imagine, that makes life meaningful, so that our soul, our unique expression of spirit, our soul, can do that whole resetting process Great Mother gave us in the message, can live above as below, can incarnate in physical form and still maintain that sense so that it can give from love instead of for it. Now, if we don't, there's no judgment or condemnation. They're just consequences not put on us, but as a result of how we feel about us. It's about what our soul is responding to. And our soul is responding to this experience in ways that hopefully today we've come closer to understanding and come closer to recognizing what self-love is about. It's not about loving this ego that is having its life animated by a soul. It's about the self-love the soul is needing to experience through this ego. Just like Great Mother, Father, God create us and guide us back home so that we can see who we are through them as we align greater and greater experiences of our divinity, and we begin to see Great Mother, Father, God in us so that they can see themselves in us. They can't see themselves in us until we get to that level of alignment. Now let's be clear. This has nothing to do with judgment or condemnation. Of course, Great Mother, Father, God see themselves in us as their dearly loved divine children who are never judged, condemned, or left alone. It's a frequency thing in terms of alignment. It's an energetic thing in terms of the potential of power that we have. That's all. And it's not an external judgment like we've been conditioned to believe. It is our own internal barometer of how we feel. Do we feel divinely loved? Are we feeling happy, healthy, and whole? That is the mirror reflection. That is the healed soul. That's the healthy empath. That's the healed empath. That's what we're going for in order to express and, most importantly, experience that unique divinity. We're created so that they can experience this. What is that quote that Carl Sagan, the world-renowned astrophysicist? Let me Google this real quick. Universe is experiences itself through us. You know, it don't matter what science you go to, what spirituality, whatever. It's the same story. It's never changed. I'm not telling anything new, as I always say. It's just contextualized specifically for us. Great Mother felt like this was the time, this lifetime, Based on my soul experiences, I have a Mercury Atmakaraka, that is the planet with the highest degrees in my chart, that signifies soul experience. Mercury is communication, thoughts, beliefs, okay? It's also experimentation, okay? And many lifetimes of this stuff combined with mama drama trauma, Saturn moon aspects, and Neptune, and, connecting with her, and, the spirituality and Cancer, ninth house, and all this, this soul to express these energies to people with her same experience. The quote is by Carl Sagan, "The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself." Didn't say the way, it said a way. And one of the ways to do that is through a daily practice that allows us to do what Great Mother just shared with us today. Allow us to live the law of Moses, as above, so below. Moses gave the law, did the 10 Commandments. As above, so below. There are laws to how things run. There is a divine order, and the divine order of healing is release, is grieving, is letting go. And that's why so many people now are dying in pain, crying out for healing, health systems disintegrating, because no institution can withstand the pain of an entire nation or an entire planet. That's not possible. It's not possible. Just like in the old days, we were taken through initiations in order to learn to do a great deal of that for ourselves. Before we even got sick, or needed to go to a doctor, there's a lot of things that we knew how to do for ourselves. And we're learning how to do that this lifetime, which is why Great Mother came through to say, recognize the work that you're doing. Recognize where that's brought you now, so that as we move forward with our discussion about empaths, we can go deeper into our gifts, our talents and abilities. I've been promising, I know, for several sessions now, but we have to get down what this fundamental dilemma we have is between knowing that we are dearly loved divine children of the Great Mother, Father, God, who are never judged, condemned, or left alone, and being mother wound empaths at the same time. That is a hypersensitivity versus high sensitivity, quagmire. It's a real issue that we have to deal with regardless of what our gifts, talents, and abilities are, but want to establish that foundationally as something we recognize that we've been dealing with, whether or not we could articulate it or not. It's a real hard thing to be connected in our core belief through lifetimes with this unified field, and at the same time having this maternal experience of abandonment and abuse. It's a very difficult thing to reconcile. It causes a great deal, therefore, of emotional, mental, psychological imbalance. And so we want to be clear that we recognize that as well. So as we go into, as Elder Melodoma talks about, the birth of the healer and the medial realm, we want to be sure that we open up the discussion about this challenge and how it affects our heroine and hero's journey back home to peace, to freedom, emancipation. E is the E in the Aspire, our 6 suits. And again, give ourselves the validation that we need. So I hope that it's been helpful. And if you have any questions for Great Mother, we're going to be having her messages come through in this series that we're going to be covering. And you have questions about being an empath with the mother wound, and you have questions about how to manage your hypersensitivity or specific issues around the high sensitivity and the natural highs that you're tapping into and how to apply and use them practically, please be sure to put those questions in our section below. That would be something new and great and welcome. So you can actually practice doing readings, ask questions about just some things that you may be wanting to know. I know everybody does their own intuitive readings. We are empaths. We really don't need help with that sort of thing. But if you're curious, please feel free. Get in touch with me. Let me know. I hope that has been helpful for you. I hope that has been some information that's useful for you. But above all and most of all, remember, Great Mother loves you, and I do too. Empaths with a mother wound empaths coming through. One thing's for certain, two things for sure. One thing's for certain, two things for sure. One thing's for certain, two things for sure. I'm blessed, been blessed, gon' always be blessed. I'm blessed, been blessed, gon' always be blessed. 'Cause I'm a divine child, a great mother, Father God, never just condemned or left alone. 'Cause I'm a divine child, a great mother, Father God, never just condemned or left alone. One thing's for certain, two things for sure.